connect with someone we've been collaborating with in the UK, so you can listen in on this part of the conversation. That should happen momentarily, hopefully. So we're going to spend the next few minutes kind of unveiling something that Jennifer and I have been working on together over the last couple months. And what we're doing is addressing the current Internet to K20 website and its purpose, its mission, and its goals. That we've identified, and many of you have identified some of the deficiencies in the current website effort. And it really is kind of our premier marketing and communication tool within the K20 initiative to get information about projects and applications out to the actual practitioners, speaking to the point that Bob raised, the importance of actually getting these resources and opportunities down to the actual classroom or library or museum level. And the most promising method of doing that is through web presence. So where have we gone, and what have we accomplished to date in that arena? Is there a need to do something different? And I think clearly, yes, there is. And we talked. Jennifer and I have been mulling this over and talking about. We started with this My K20, where we allowed folks to go ahead and define who they were, what their interests were, post a personal description on our website, and then we also allowed them to describe any kind of projects or any kind of collaborations that they may like to do. Either their existing project that they're working on or something they'd like to see in the future. So that was all well and good. We went ahead and created that a couple of years ago, and we found that they're obviously, it's only gotten us so far, and there are many things wrong with that model. So how can we do better? Basically, this is what Jennifer and I are trying to address. Just quickly, that some of the limitations, they're pretty obvious. That as soon as somebody puts a profile or a project up, it becomes obsolete, as they don't go back and update the information. I mean, why would they? There's really nothing in it for them other than increasing their carpal tunnel syndrome. The other major issue is that it's all well and good having the information residing somewhere on a web server, but it requires somebody to actually go and find it, and that's I think one of the key limitations. People just don't have the time or inclination to spend that kind of time. Heckler's back. We also currently lack the regional scope, so it's kind of just a national picture, which is great, but there are a lot of activities that are going on regionally in California or Pennsylvania that may or may not be applicable to the national audience. Jennifer will talk about that a little bit more as well. And then lastly, with RSS feeds and other ways to these days to push content out to people's inboxes, which seems to be one of the more effective ways to reach people. Their work habits is check the inbox, and that's what they oftentimes pay attention to. We currently don't have that capacity to get information out to people. So those were the major issues we identified, the major shortcomings with the current site. I think Jennifer will want to talk a little bit now about a little bit more about the need to regionalize, and then we'll kind of do the big unveil. Not to build this up.
You don't build it.
Yes.
So I'm sort of punting on the whole regional database question that I was getting from our community for a little while, actually, partially as a resource question and partially because I wanted them to use the national My K20 database. I really wanted folks to sort of learn to go to My K20 and use that, submit their profiles, find teachers through My K20, and that was kind of my MO for a long time, was go to My K20 and then additionally, go to CILC and use those tools that already exist. Let's not recreate the wheel here. But I have to admit that our community came to us after some time of that and said, you know what, if you don't do it, we're going to. we want a regional database. We have teachers who maybe are a little bit intimidated by the national site. They think that their project isn't interesting enough for the national K20, or maybe it's like too half-baked, and they think that if it goes up there, then all the NASA scientists are going to see it, and the higher ed faculty are going to see it, and you know, for those kinds of reasons, it just wasn't working for them. Not to mention, we also had a need for, you know, tri-state communication and even in-state communication from our regional communities, because we do serve 3 states, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. So we kind of got these pressures from several of our different communities representing several different states that we work with. And we said, okay, it's time, we're going to do a Magpie regional database. You know, so I talked to James and I said, James, you know, don't kill me, but we're going to build something too. And of course, I wanted to work with my K20. I want to make sure that my K20 is linked into the regional database so that people don't have to remember 2 URLs, they don't have to go to 2 different places, plus CILC. So when I came to James with that, he said, well, wait a minute. It's actually time to revamp my K20, so this is perfect. Let's join forces and really see what we can come up with together in terms of developing a new structure that's sort of a metadatabase with several sub-regional databases, which can be anything from a state to a country to a discipline within that system. And so that's what we've essentially been working away on for the last couple of months. Let me just make sure I hit on my regional tool, need for regional sites here. Yeah, I did. So I think one of the things when James and I had that discussion was that we were able to work with Internet 2, and James, maybe you should take over here and talk a little bit about some of what George Brett and others at Internet 2 have offered to support this effort.
Yeah, one of the big bugs of something like this is you know, how do you host it? How do you get the technical support to enable development of a complex website? And you know, it sort of seems trivial, but when you actually try to go and develop something, this is critical. So we were lucky enough to inherit the infrastructure that I2 just has sitting there available. And this is actually probably would not be possible without their support. So we really thank I2 for doing all these things that you see here, hosting and making sure that we don't get hacked and all these guys. It's been very, very useful. I wish for seriously thank you to do that. Okay, so let's think a little bit about the new site. And as you know, this isn't just this thing we're building. I think as Robert Simlis, who we'll have hopefully here momentarily, stated last time. It's important in the world of Internet 2 and advanced networking applications to not be technology focusing on any given technology like video conferencing, or like the CLC does an absolutely amazing job detailing the video conferencing based projects. But what we're attempting to do is to be technology agnostic, and that we're talking about video conferencing and pointing to those existing resources and project descriptions at CILC. But beyond that, what else is out there? The remote instruments, the telescopes, the digital libraries, things like Research Channel, the streaming on-demand video, the list goes on and on. We want this system to, at a regional and a national level, to be able to describe the universe of advanced applications. In addition, we want the content to be user-driven. We want to incorporate some of the most successful Web 2.0 features that we all know and love now, things like Flickr or Dig or YouTube. Delicious, the social bookmarking site. We want to leverage these things as much as possible in the new environment. And again, the underlying philosophical approach we're taking is that users know better than we do. We're kind of the middlemen, the go-betweens for the information. So by trusting radically the users who are passionate about the project to provide the information and then update it, that may be better than us trying to search out and then put the information up as we have been doing now. And that, the wisdom of the crowd idea. So I'm not sure what this last one, I've never seen. Let's move on. Bring it on thing. I probably don't want that wasn't very successful.
You all know what we mean there, right? I think we were loopy on a Friday afternoon with that bullet.
Okay, so additionally, some of the functionality that you'll see when this thing is done is, as Jennifer spoke to, you'll have the ability as a region or a discipline to describe your own independent space that you can brand, you can have it look and feel the way you want it to. But the core thing to note is this is all going to be all these different regional sites will be sharing the same data structure. So that therefore we leverage all the information that we're all providing for our regional sites on the national level and within all the other regional sites as well. You'll be able to do all the things you can do now. You'll be able to manage your profile and projects, but you can now add events and news and a bit more enhanced search functionality using tags will be available for people and projects, and as well as events and news. The tag is important. This is the thing the glue that binds all of the content together. A tag can be assigned to an individual, to a news event, to a project, to anything. So when you have interest, somebody comes to the site or actually sets up an RSS feed, they can say, show me all of the things that, whenever they come to the site, show me in my inbox, anytime anybody says remote instrumentation, puts in content with the tag remote instrumentation, be it an event or a resource or a person, someone else interested in that. That information will just come to their inbox, that person's inbox, in real time as it's added. Well, so some things we're still mulling over is, how can we better enable people to communicate in real time once they found each other? Do we want to just leave it at that? Just once they found each other, then our job is done, or do we want to move beyond that and provide the ability for people to say, oh, that person's online now, I want to talk with them, maybe a chat client or something like that. So we're trying to incorporate that as well. Then a few other things worth to note with the open source and Google APIs and the maps, things that Google's been developing. Is there a way to model and display data rather than by subject or by discipline or by keyword or tag? Is there a way to do it geographically so you can visualize the information by space or geography? Well, Jennifer, go ahead and talk through this.
So the underlying architecture of this is essentially, as we said earlier, Internet 2 is providing the server on which the system lives. It uses a MySQL database, and then also for our content management system, we went through an evaluation process with our national team and decided on a system called Drupal. Is anyone familiar with Drupal? Okay, so some folks. It's an open source content management system tool that allows for really pretty impressive customization of sites and sort of being able to define templates and modules that allow for updating content in a very simple but robust way. So we found that a lot of folks are using Drupal from our community, and also, as I said, we did an eval and kind of honed in on that. And we've been very happy with it, and our developers have been very happy with it as well. So they live on the Internet 2 server, and that supports these, what we'll call regions. So each of these boxes actually represents sort of a regional site. The national K20 being sort of the meta region in a sense, the Magpie regional, because we've been working together, and then obviously each and every one of your state or SegP's regional site that you want to include. We've also been working with the international community, and I'm sorry we don't have Robert on as part of this yet, but In Chicago, we talked with Robert after hearing his presentation, and we also spoke with representatives from Terrana, which is sort of like the Pan-European Internet 2 consortium, and they solicited interest from their communities in Europe as well. We've also been working with Australia, and some of you may remember Guido from the Chicago meeting. We've been working with Guido, Abbott? What's his name? It doesn't matter, Guido from Australia, at the Australian High-Speed Research and Education Network, and he's been very interested in working with us and has put us in touch with some of the folks in Australia as well. Last week we heard interest from Slovenia, so we'll have a Slovenian regional site as part of this, and the community and the family just keeps growing. It's pretty exciting to watch. Obviously the ... is all the new disciplines. Maybe NASA's going to have a regional site, who knows? So here's the big reveal. Should I have built that up a little bit more? Thanks, Dad. So this is a visual representation.
We purposely excluded the press. Still want to keep this up the wraps.
But imagine the photographer snapping away now, right? So this is a visual representation, and this is real. I mean, we just did screenshots here of the national new My K20 site and the Magpie regional site. We wanted to kind of show you these side to side. You'll see that they don't look, you know, as polished as we want yet, but we are still sort of in rapid prototyping mode. But we wanted to give you the sense of these sites here. Do you want to add anything before we?
Just that somehow the connectivity data should not be wrapped.
Oh, they'll forget.
We don't know that. We're all about data.
Okay, keep your those to know that these are actually independent regional sites. And just imagine your own site through the click of a couple of mouse clicks, you'll be able to create your own site with its own template, its own look and feel that you can select, and immediately start adding information to your site. And that information can be then available to everyone. So it shouldn't be difficult for you. You shouldn't have to find your server. You shouldn't have to mount a whole development effort just to get information out there for your folks in your states. You can just come to this site and quickly establish a presence and have it be linked to the rest of the community.